Hello and welcome guys to another one of Zynax's Hotlap videos. Today we're doing the Mercedes 190E DTM around Silverstone International Circuit. Now coming up to the first corner you want to pick out your braking zone, the 100 meter board, then chuck it in, try not to get as much oversteer as that's a wee bit too much, and then you want to stick to the left hand side here. Once again braking the 100 meter board, you want to try and carry as much speed as possible through this corner, and you can run all the way out to the outside curb. Then you've got to pick a braking spot out of nowhere. It's all about feeling here. Get the apex, and then you can run off track here, carry as much speed as possible onto the Wellington straight. Now all the way along the straight you're reaping the benefit of the long gearing ratio I've got in this car. So coming up to here, this is where all the time is made up. You want to pick out your braking zone at the 100 meter board, then keep the speed up all the way to the apex, and then on the power nice and early and use all the available track. Now into the final two corners, braking at the 100 meter board, do not turn the car until you've finally slowed down or you'll spin out there. Now you can run all the way out to the outside curb and carry as much speed as possible onto the final straight, and that is a lap of Silverstone International Circuit. Now as you can see, that time put me first in the world. I love these sort of tracks that are really small and about a minute lap time, and you can do loads and loads of laps. That's the best way to get good at a track. Not just watching setup guides like this, but doing plenty of practice and getting that time tumbling every single lap. Now onto the setup. Now to kickstart this setup guide, we're going to look at the tyres and brakes. For the tyre pressure, I would actually differ from what you see here. Bump up the front left to 1.48 and the rear left to 1.46, but from experience the left gets worked a lot harder than the right, so the right values could do with being dropped a little. Onto the brake pressure. The value is completely stock as I have seen no reason to change it. There is never any locking with a delicate right foot, and the temps of the brakes are kept nice and high. Brake balance is brilliant for this car. When under braking the value is set to 55%, the rear end likes to try and slide. This is what you want, as you can get the power on it to correct it. It also keeps the temps nice and even across all four corners of the car. I have set the brake duct to a low value to ensure on the large straights of this track heat is maintained in the brakes. Now in terms of downforce for this car, you don't have many options. The front downforce adjustment is locked because I assume the front splitter is a fixed design. The rear downforce however is adjustable, and this value of 3 allows a nice grip in the high speed corners but allows a reasonably high top speed on the straight towards Stowe. The steering ratio for this car is just out of preference for this track. It won't really affect you having to put more or less lock on, as there are not many really tight corners. My preference though is a fast ratio to allow me to correct the oversteer in this car without having to cross my hands over. I have bumped up the camber on the front so that on harsh turn-in there is as much rubber in contact with the road as possible. However, I have left the rear value reasonably low to allow good traction out of the slow corners. The toe angle is a standard value. Now all these values are stock apart from the sway bars. I have made the front stiffer than the rear to try and induce a little bit of understeer into the car's handling. This allows you to flick the car hard into corners, and you can then control the slight oversteer with your left foot. As usual, I have left the damper settings completely unchanged. I really don't change these values as I feel that is only relevant when you've got a really bumpy track and a very low car. The acceleration lock for this car is set at 30%. This is quite a low value to stop the car being pushed on into the corners. It also leaves traction up to the skill of the driver. The de-acceleration lock however I've actually increased. This allows maximum braking stability when braking into the Stowe corner. For the gearing, I have left the value lean slightly towards the acceleration side for better acceleration out of slow corners, but beware of fiddling with this value. You will probably hit the limiter on the straight if this is moved any further down. All the values for the engine setting are left absolutely stock. Now for the force feedback settings for this car, I have bumped it up to 130. This is so, when understeer is induced into the car, I can actually feel what the front tyres are doing. This gives me more control and in turn, greater lap time. Now that leads us finally to the summary page. Now make sure you note down as many values as possible and get them into your Mercedes. I'm not exactly sure how transferable these settings are to other versions of Silverstone and other tracks, but that is up to you to investigate. Now thank you very much for watching, and make sure you like, subscribe and check out my other videos.
watch it regardless.